this time.
Brothers and sisters, there is a time for everything under the heavens. A time to believe, a time to poet, a time to speak, and a time to live, a time to learn, and a time to wander. And today is a time to believe. And it's also a little bit of a time to learn. So the word of encouragement I want to leave you all with is do not be afraid to start over. Do not be afraid to be a beginner again. So I really want to encourage you guys to have a childlike humility when it comes to trying new things. I really want you guys to remain teachable when it comes to exploring new topics. For we as Christians know that no one can get to solid food without first starting off with spiritual milk. Our body won't be able to digest the solid food until we are first able to digest the spiritual milk. So I really want to encourage you guys today, coming out of the chapter Matthew 18, verses 1 through 6.
And it reads, "In that hour the disciples came to Jesus, saying, 'Who then is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?' Jesus called a little child to himself and set him in the middle of them and said, 'Most certainly I tell you, unless you turn and become as little children, you will in no way enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever therefore humbles himself as this little child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Whoever receives one such a little child in my name receives me. But whoever causes one of these little ones to stumble, who believes in me, it would be better for him if a huge millstone were hung around his neck and that he were sunk in the depths of the sea.'"
So you all, I want to give a quick anecdote, a quick testimony about my journey with starting over and being a beginner again. So when I first started my language learning journey of trying to be fluent in Spanish, I had to realize that I could not read the books like a young adult. I could not read young adult books. I could not read middle school age books. I had to start over with fairy tales and children's books with a whole bunch of pictures in them in order to understand the underlying message. And that was a very humbling experience for me as someone who does like to read and someone who does like to read young adult books. I had to basically backtrack what it felt like. I had to backtrack and end up reading kids' books. I'm like, why am I reading kids' books at this age? But that moment of humility was necessary in order for me to be where I am today. As someone who is self-proclaimed, I won't say self-proclaimed, I'm pretty fluent. I've been to a few different countries, Spanish-speaking countries. I've even lived abroad, studied abroad. So I feel like I'm doing pretty good for myself. But it wasn't always that way. I had to start off with spiritual milk. And so because of that, I really wanted to encourage you all that we need to be humble when we are trying new things. Like the verses I just read to you, childlike humility turns into childlike faith. And faith is something we need in our relationship with God. For the word says in Hebrews 11:6, it is impossible to please God without faith. So we must have faith, childlike faith, to understand that God will be with us even when we want to step outside of our comfort zone and try new things. God will be with us when we want to explore new venues and new topics and new events and just new things, walk in the newness of life. He will be right there along with us. And in order to have faith, we must trust God's plan for us. For it says in Jeremiah 29:11 that God says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you." So we must believe these things, believe the promises that He has already said when we want to explore new things and we want to start over. And like the little children in the kingdom of heaven, we as children of God need to remain teachable. Children are also dependent upon their parents. Just as a child is dependent on their parent, we should be dependent on our God. We should strive to be as teachable as little children. We should strive to be teachable, because teachable is one of the fruits that are born out of living a life of humility. Being teachable can get you into more rooms than fake competence ever will. And actually, that teachability will allow you to stay in those rooms a little bit longer than arrogance and prideful natures. An example of this can be found in Acts chapter 8, specifically verses 30 through 31, and it reads, Philip ran to him and heard him reading Isaiah the prophet and said, "Do you understand what you are reading?" He said, "How can I, unless someone explains it to me?" He begged Philip to come up and sit with him. I underlined the part that said, "How can I, unless someone explains it to me?" This is the perfect example of humility. The Ethiopian eunuch had two choices in the way that he could have responded. He could have responded in a very arrogant manner. He could have responded like, "Oh, I don't need any help. I don't need help from anybody. I can do it all by myself." But no, he was honest with himself, and he even made himself a little vulnerable and said, "No, hey, I don't understand. Unless someone explains it to me, I need help in order to understand this. In order to move beyond being a beginner, in order to start over, I need help." There is actually so much we can learn from this Ethiopian eunuch. We need to adopt this mindset of humility. We don't need to let our prideful natures and don't let arrogance drown you in a sea of incompetence. Don't let arrogance drown you in a sea of incompetence forever. We need to reject the fixed mindset of, "Oh, since I wasn't able to do it in the past, I guess I'll just never be able to do it," or "I'm not that type of person who does new things, who can do things well." Don't be the type of person that settles in mediocrity. God has something more for you, but the more that God has for you is on the other side of you stepping out on faith. We must have faith, for it is impossible to please Him without it. So I really pray that we all adopt a growth mindset of, yes, I can learn from this. I pray that we adopt the mindset of, it may not have worked out last time, but I'm going to try again. And maybe even this time, I'm going to ask for help. So when it comes to my language learning journey, it wasn't just me reading a whole bunch of kids' books. No, I actually went out and got some tutoring. That was me understanding that I can't do it on my own, that I may need help from someone else. And so I put myself out there, I got some tutoring, and beyond that, I even started putting myself in spaces where I knew I had to speak Spanish. So I went to I won't even lie to y'all, a lot of Latino markets, bought a lot of different produce and stuff, and I would purposely do this so I would order my food in Spanish, or so I would converse with some of the locals or some of the employees in Spanish, so that I was forced to practice. And in doing so, I was able to make some friends, and throughout our friendship, I learned that some of these people were children of God as well. So now we're having full-blown conversations about what the Lord has done for us. So a lot of the things that God has for you is on the other side of you stepping out of your comfort zone. If you feel like maybe immersing yourself in a language may be too much for you at this stage, that's okay. You can look on Eventbrite. Y'all are really sleeping on Eventbrite, but Eventbrite has a lot of different things going on. I know in bigger cities, maybe like Chicago, New York, LA, things like that, they have language meetups where you can meet up with people who are probably on your same level and you guys can help each other. That builds accountability. Or if you're in more of a smaller city, there are apps like italki. I used to use italki a lot, where if you don't want to pay for tutoring, you could use their platform for free and upload some of your writings or some of your homework assignments, and people will help you with it. Or you can upload a paragraph in Spanish or French, and someone will correct you. So this is one thing you could do. There's also the option of using Tandem. I will say that Tandem is quite overstimulating because there's a lot of people trying to talk to you all at the same time, but it's a great app to meet new people and to help with language learning. I also want to speak to starting over and becoming a beginner outside of language learning. Maybe you need help with financial literacy. Maybe you need help with your relationship with God. Maybe you need help with your fitness journey or whatsoever type of journey that you are on. In terms of financial literacy, again, going back to Eventbrite, there are a lot of different events probably happening in your city as we speak. They have some virtual events where they may do a homeowners 101 workshop or a financially literate workshop. You have to look out for these things and search for them. There are also a lot of different Facebook groups. I myself am not on Facebook, but I know a lot of people who are on Facebook, and there are different Facebook groups for everything that it seems like. So look up financially literate college students or financially literate Black girls. Like, there are things out there for you to help you. Maybe you want to start out a little bit slower than this of having in-person meetups. Maybe you should get you some books. I know they have Investing for Dummies. Maybe start with that. I know Tiffany the Budgetnista has a book as well that can help you be financially literate. Besides this, you should probably also look into getting a mentor. A mentor is a really great person to help you with what you want to do. They may be a person who have done exactly what you want to do, and so therefore it gives them the experience and wisdom necessary to help someone like you start from zero. There's also the option of networking, finding different people in your community, in your friends' community, asking around. Stop being shy about the things that you are interested in. It is okay to start over. It is okay if you don't have all the answers right now. I want to leave you all with this message of: do not let temporary incompetence stop you from pursuing competence. I myself no longer want to live a life of letting new things intimidate me from wanting better out of my life, from wanting better out of my situation. I also want to encourage you all with the words of Isaiah. For it says in Isaiah 43, verses 18 and 19, as it reads, "Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it?" So y'all, we need to stop dwelling on the past and look forward towards the future that God has in store for us. I'm telling you, I'm reminding you again that God is doing a new thing for you, but it is on the other side of you being obedient to faith. It is on the other side of you stepping out of your comfort zone. It is on the other side of you accepting your temporary status of spiritual milk, your temporary status of being a beginner, in order to humble yourself and start over. The last verse I want to read unto you guys is Job chapter 8, verse 7, which reads, "Your beginnings will seem humble." Some versions say small. "So prosperous will be your future." Y'all, this is in no way me trying to promote prosperity gospel or any of that, but what I'm saying that while you starting over may seem like a setback, you starting over may seem like you starting from zero, from nothing, from scratch, small and humble beginnings, there is something, what am I trying to say, Lord? I want to encourage you not to let past failures stop you from starting over. For Galatians 6 and 9 reminds us that a harvest, we will reap it if we do not give up. To close, I want to refer back to the beginning passages of Matthew 18 that we read, specifically verse 5 and 6 that says, "Whoever receives one such little child in my name receives me. But whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to stumble, it would be better for a huge millstone were hung around their neck and they sunk in the sea." So I bring this up basically to say that once you do all these things, once you get from the level of beginners to proficient to intermediate to advanced in whatever journey that you are pursuing, then people will see the light on your life. People will see the light, your good deeds, and will glorify the Father, and they will come up to you. I can guarantee if this has happened to me, people will come up to you and ask you, how did you do such and such thing? How did you do blah, blah, blah? And you'll be able to testify to the good news of Jesus Christ, that Jesus was there with you when you were starting over for nothing, that Jesus was there with you during your humble beginnings. And that is a full circle moment. Not only will you have the opportunity to testify, but God will open you up to new opportunities of discipleship. Now you may be able to help another young woman who was going through the same thing you were going through before you stepped out on faith. Now you can minister to her. There may also be new opportunities for mentorship. Now you're the mentor to somebody when you once had a mentor. Or you probably still do. It's okay to keep your mentor while you're a mentor. So instead of causing his little ones to stumble, you would be helping them. You would be receiving them. In turn, receiving God. So that is all for today, you all. I will leave you with start over. For it is never too late to start over. As long as today is called today, you still have the time and opportunity and grace from God to start over. Grace and peace, everyone. Grace and peace, peace and mercy, mercy and truth be unto all of you. Please remember to remain open-hearted, open-minded, and open-handed to both God and others. Thanks.
Good to know you're by my side, holding me out. Holding me out. On those solid ground.